Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Drop-In Morning Show, where the Teach Better team is live every single morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern. Today is Friday, April 1st, which means it is April Fool's Day. I saw many posts, though, that wanted to cancel April Fool's Day this year. Maybe it's just officially March 32nd. That would be a strange day in our calendar. Let's go fill up our coffee. Brad Hughes is here. We have a good show for you. We cannot wait to get started. Please send your comments in. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let's try that again. Please put your thoughts in the comments or whatever. I don't know, guys. We want to hear from you. We'll be right back. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, April 1st. Thank you for tuning into the Daily Drop-In Show. Brad Hughes, how are ya?
Rae Hughart, I'm doing well. I'm really excited to connect. I've been looking forward to this morning, an opportunity to energize for a great day ahead and just to connect with you, friend. How has your week been?
It's been good, but I tell you this every week, and I don't know why I feel this urgency to tell you this every single week, but Daily Drop-In, I really enjoy. But typically after my Thursday show, I'm just like, it'd be so nice to get a day off of Daily Drop-In. Maybe sleep in a little bit, whatever. And then I tell you, this happens every single week. I log off a Thursday and I'm like, how can I figure out how to take tomorrow off? And then I realize it's Friday with you, and I'm like, oh, never mind. I really want to do Daily Drop-In with Brad.
That's just amazing. I'm certain that one week I'll just pop on a Friday morning, and then when the camera comes on you, there'll just be a post-it note that says "out for the day," and
That
then we'll
would
take
be
it from there.
That's exactly what we should do in case, somebody can't make it. I'll still be here. I'm just going to put the post-it that I'm out, and you'll run the show by yourself. You'll be golden. You've done it
Well,
100 times.
that could have been how we approached this morning, Rae, for April Fool's Day. I mean, our viewers could have tuned in and seen like two empty chairs, two empty backgrounds, the lights are on, but nobody's home. I mean, some viewers and listeners might think that's the case on any given day for Daily Drop In, but we were speculating before we went on air about all of the nonsense and shenanigans that had we had more time and
Right.
opportunity, we would have taken to celebrate April Fool's Day. But some might say that this year, this past couple of years, there's been enough foolishness and nonsense to last a lifetime. So some people might just appreciate the straight and narrow approach.
Yeah, straight and narrow's never bad, but what are some things that you've seen? I know there's been some good April Fools jokes out there. I'm thinking like in school buildings. There's always like fun ways for people to celebrate holidays. April Fool's Day is a perfect example in schools that are totally not hurtful. They're just goofy little experiences that people remember. I'd love to hear if anyone's doing anything for April Fools, or if there's ever anything that people have seen. Every year where I used to teach, the principal would put out an announcement that the mascot has changed on April Fool's Day. It would be like, we're really excited to announce we are now, like the fish, or something that has nothing to do with the Eagles. And that was always like a fun kind of like easy one.
We could go that road at our school. We're the Forest Hill Falcons. We could say that due to animal rights concerns and due to the endangered status of the Falcons, we have changed it to I'm not sure
The worms.
the worms or something really benign like the glass of water or
Oh
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I love that. And honestly, like you got to take it to a little bit of an extreme so people question it for at least a minute. Like you got to get new posters made, new graphics on social media, like really commit if you're going to do an April Fool's related to changing the mascot, cuz just enough that you're like, "Hold on. There was a little bit of effort put forth. Is this real?"
I think you talked yesterday or earlier this week about clarity being kindness, clear is kind. I do believe in the power and the opportunity and the gift of surprise, Rae. I also want to be sensitive to the fact that people are relying on good, timely information to soothe jangled nerves on any given day. So I would hate to think that an unintentional surprise like that might serve to reinforce some already frayed nerves.
Well, I have to say that's kind of the risk of April Fools is I am not a person who loves surprises, Brad. I'm glad that you are because I think we can balance each other out. I think that stresses me out. It stresses me
Yeah.
out going to school on April Fool's Day because I don't know what's coming and it's probably going to be fine, but sometimes it's going to be stressful. And I need it. I need easy and key. I think a lot of educators right now are just like, please don't mess with my mental status.
Exactly right. I think it's a day to be honored, and many kids will come to school excited to test the waters of what April Fool's Day might mean. I think it's great to be welcoming and accepting of those attempts as long as they are, still within the bounds of safety and respect. But as a school leader, it is not something that I invite or promote or play up, just because the business of the school depends on those solid routines and familiarity and predictability for so many kids and so many staff members that have experienced and continue to experience so much community stress right now, right?
I have enjoyed in past years, educators on the team would like switch classrooms for the day or like
Mm-hmm.
just wacky things enough that you walk in and you're like, something's wrong here. Nothing's too different, but it's different enough.
At one of my first elementary schools, our principal had a twin brother. And so for April Fool's Day, Terry Yutzi, my principal, and his brother Tom would both come in dressed identically or nearly identically and pop up around the school in different places at different times until kids and staff members that didn't know that Mr. Yutzi had a twin until they figured out what was going on. So that was a memorable, but also a really relationship building surprise for staff members and kids at that school.
That's so funny. Trying to think of other like silly ones or even just things within the family. I like this April Fool's prank teachers dress up as the student. See, that's a fun one. I like that. That's always like a fun spirit day one of like, matching a student or dressing up like a student. Always kind of creates some good giggles. Anything that is April Fool's related that you've seen outside of school, like maybe families do?
Nothing yet. Nothing memorable to report. How about you in your neighborhood?
Trying to think like like a family member calling another family member and saying they're moving, like those are all like it's announcing a pregnancy that doesn't exist, like little things like that kind of create some giggles typically. But yeah, I'm gonna challenge everyone, do something very low key this year
Hmm.
and then let us know what you end up deciding to do. It's always good to get a good chuckle as long as it's an insured chuckle, you know what I mean, like to confirm that everybody's going to get some good laughter out of it. I
Well,
think it's always
laughter is
wonderful.
key. It goes without saying, but you want to be laughing with, not laughing at. And you got to read the energy in the room, and you got to read people's capacity to engage with those kind of shenanigans because they may be unwelcome at this time. So just proceed gently. That's all.
Very balance. I like this. Proceed gently, but enjoy April Fools. Brad, I know we got off track, but how was your week thus far? How was everything going?
Oh, it's been a very full, a very busy week, a week full of emotions, Ray. This coming Monday, after 7 years as a school leader at my current elementary school, I'm transferring to a different elementary school in the district. So this week has been about reminiscing, about lots of hugs, lots of shared memories, lots of gratitude for all that I and our school community have sustained and accomplished in the last 7 years and shifting over to a new elementary school with challenges and opportunities as well. Lots of new people to meet, lots of new kids to engage with, lots of knowns, but also lots of unknowns. And there'll be a lot of curiosity about the new principal coming in. But I'm grateful to say that both school communities have been so warm and so gracious in their appreciation. And my new school community, where I'm heading on Monday, a quick turnaround, and it's unusual for a transfer like this to take place with such a little timeline. I had about informed my staff on Tuesday that this shift was happening, and then I'm starting at a new school on Monday. So it's been a roller coaster ride, and I'm feeling a bit lightheaded just with all of the ideas and all of the connections and all of the what ifs. But it really has forced me to slow down, and it really has forced me to take my own advice. And I often share advice with people to say, one important interaction at a time, one moment at a time, one day at a time. It really is about intentionally slowing down and being present for whatever is there, because we do not know what is happening next. So I've really had to take my own advice a lot this week, Ray, and I know that I'll be drawing on that in the weeks to come as I shift over to a new school.
Yeah, and Brad, I know this was a very, very challenging topic for you this week, and something that I think a lot of educators here can have some empathy for. I mean, a lot of educators this year have gotten news that they feel like there's been a quick turnaround. They've gotten news that they maybe felt like a decision was made with or without them that was challenging. I mean, there's a lot of similarities here. So in some regard, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, but to be completely transparent, it's also such a blessing for the new school that you'll be heading to. Regardless of all the feelings, they're going to be so excited, and they're going to benefit so much from having you as a leader. So it is like, it's always a bittersweet moment when change occurs. So I am so eager to hear about how the staff learns about you and all the things that you do to foster those relationships, because gosh, I would work for you. I would be a teacher in your building in a heartbeat. So I'm sure that there's so many that will be so celebratory that you're there.
I truly appreciate that. There really is no manual for any transition like this. I think there's only determination to be genuine and just to meet people where they are. So whether you're changing school buildings with intention, whether you're changing school buildings because of a transfer that's unexpected, there are things that are within our control and certainly things that are not within our control. And it can be really easy to shift into perseverance on why is this happening to me? Uh, why is this happening to the school communities, and what I'm shifting to? And this is a welcome and a positive change, and I know it will be long term. But I'm shifting, or I've already shifted into what is this teaching me? What is this teaching us? And so the transfer is happening with my like through conversation with my superintendent and with other school leaders. It affects a number of school leaders in our district, and so all of us, each and every person is committed to a smooth transition into the well-being of the new school community. Right?
It'll be so wonderful. I'm so excited for you. My week was not nearly as stressful as yours at all, but I was able to connect with a number of educators in our community, which is kind of fun. So lots of meetings, a lot of outside dialogue. And Brad, actually interesting, there's been a theme over the last few weeks. I don't know that we've talked about it on the show, but we've been talking a lot about educators reaching out, wanting tips and tricks on interviewing. I know interviewing is big topic right now. I know in Mastermind, our admin mastermind that we have on Tuesdays, that's come up a lot in leadership discussions. But I almost feel like that came up in leadership discussions about a month ago. And then now I feel like the conversations I'm having still along the same topic are shifting to educators asking questions about interviewing, because there's this next phase of, now that postings are coming out, educators being eager to apply or change roles or be a part of the interview process. And so that was kind of interesting. I facilitated a mock interview yesterday with a brand new educator coming fresh out of college, eager to start her career in the education space. And it's a very exciting time, but definitely an art to interviewing. So if any of you in the comments this morning mind sharing with us your biggest interview tip, like the one thing, if you only got one tip or strategy or idea to share with a brand new educator beginning the interview experience, what would you share? I want to collect these and make sure I share them with that community.
Just as I said earlier, there's no manual for school transitions. There really may not even be a manual or focused systematic support for new teacher candidates, for teachers who are contemplating changes in a position. And I really believe that the time is now for school leaders and administrators to examine their interview practices and audit the practices for compassion. We want to bring out the best in our candidates, and so we want to make sure that we're creating spaces and conditions where candidates can feel free to share themselves, not just what they think school leaders want or need to hear, not a number of catchphrases or hot topic or little sound bites, but really creating the conditions where candidates can speak from the heart about what they can bring, both academically, but also in terms of the social, emotional, the life of the school community. So I would urge everybody who's in a position to do so to examine your practices for compassionate hiring.
It was interesting, Brad. We were able to dive into so many little strategies that help during an interview. I know Lori's commenting on a blog that I wrote last week that focused on the 3 last questions to ask at the end of an interview. So again, if you're looking for resources, teachbetter.com has a lot of interview resources, whether it be from this year or in past years that we've written. You can filter every blog over at teachbetter.com by topic. So feel free to explore those if you're looking for interview strategies. But one thing I was telling her, Brad, yesterday during this mock interview is, creating some sort of strategy to help yourself relax is actually one of the first things that I really like to discuss with a educator interviewing, because you can have all the knowledge in your head, but if you can't find a way to center yourself to be able to bring out that personality and allow yourself to calm the nerves, you're really, like going upstream, right? So I know it was funny, but we practiced yesterday taking a deep breath before you speak and starting with a smile to release those endorphins, right? Really bringing out your personality, because regardless of what you speak to, all of the educators in the Teach Better community have the knowledge base to be successful, have the experience with students and the drive and the passion to be a wonderful staff member. But, wanting to make sure that comes across, that it was funny. We had an entire mock interview primarily focused on starting with a smile and taking a deep breath before you speak, which was kind of fun.
That also goes for the interviewer or the interview team. The interview team can co-regulate with the candidate by doing just that, Rae. Breathing slowly and deeply, smiling, whether it's virtual or in person, and then setting the scene to reassure the candidate that we get this is stressful, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that you feel supported and that you leave with information about what the next steps are. So you want to clear away uncertainty. You want to make sure that the next steps are clear. You want to offer the candidate an opportunity to ask his or her questions. And as Brian Callahan said, I mean, candidates are also interviewing the school team as well. And I make this explicit when I interview candidates. We want to make sure that you're a good fit for our school community, but we also want you to leave feeling that we are a good fit for you, how you're aligned with education, your compassion for kids. It needs to be a good fit. And I really believe that there is more that school leaders and interview teams can do to set that intention, to co-regulate, and to make those conditions possible for candidates to take that great advice that you're giving, Rae, and just be able to sit in the pocket, be relaxed, and themselves.
Yeah, if any of you are experiencing interviews currently, or you have tips or tricks to share, don't forget, we love for you to share them. I know many of you have been sharing them in the comments. Blogging is a great way to share your tips and tricks for anything related to education, but especially interviewing. It's very timely. Feel free to reach out to Kari, Kari, at teachbetter.com. If you want to become a blogger, you can just find all that information over at teachbetter.com/blog. But then also good to do podcast episodes on and continue to share. There's plenty of opportunity to share your insight if you have any tips and tricks that you think might be helpful to another member in our community. Brad, I know that we typically do a documentation and happy feed about what we are grateful for. I feel like we have shared already so many things that we are grateful for. Can you maybe identify one that we've either touched on already or something that you feel inspired to share?
Yeah, I've been sharing with students and staff members this week at my school. Uh, one really one really important thought on my heart is that educators are often told that we are changing the world, and maybe we are. But what is also without question is that the kids and the adults that we encounter in our lives as educators also change and influence us significantly. And so I'm grateful for all of the interactions that I have had and continue to have. Grateful for each and every interaction. In the words of Olivia Chan, every interaction is an opportunity to uplift others. So I'm grateful for that opportunity to uplift, but I'm also grateful for the opportunities that all of the interactions in my time at my current school, but all of the interactions in my life, Rae, this interaction that you and I are having right now is life changing. So I'm grateful.
I love it. People are so important. I was just having coffee with somebody actually yesterday morning before work. I say before work, but I was on daily drop-in, so it was after daily drop-in. Whatever time frame that is, that's after daily drop-in before we all like wake up for our day. And they asked me like something very interesting. They were like, "Rae, do you ever get lonely?" That was the question that they asked. And it was so interesting because our community is virtual. And so regardless of where we are, whether we're seated at home or traveling for work or at a conference or anything else, I just find it sometimes so challenging to be lonely
Hmm.
because we always have Teach Better community like at our fingertips. But whether it be on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or anywhere else, we're kind of always attached to somebody within this greater community to talk shop with, engage with, send a joke to, send a green heart to.
Yeah.
It was difficult to explain to somebody that hasn't chosen to necessarily be an active member in this community, but I don't know, it's kind of an interesting thing to think about. I agree. I'm completely appreciative of the interactions that we have here in this family. So important.
I think it's absolutely possible, Ray, to feel lonely and still have these kind of interactions. But gosh, does it ever help?
Right.
Interactions can be so soothing, even if they provide just a couple of moments of relief from
Mhm.
loneliness or dwelling on thoughts in your own head. It's really important to continue to interact, and we know that relationships both sustain us in difficult times and they also restore us when we need that energy restored. So I that's another moment of gratitude is for all those relationships, all those interactions that provide so much, including countering loneliness, right?
So good. Let's get into some good news. Let's also get into some holidays and continue to have these interactions. If you are watching over on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or LinkedIn, we love you choosing to be active in the comments. We love you choosing to share this feed so other educators can become active in this community. And also, we love those hearts, those green hearts, or just those interactions on social media that allow us to reach more viewers. So we'll be right back. Oh my gosh, Brad, I forgot to tell you I had a nightmare last night.
That's awful. Oh my gosh, are you okay to share what happened, or just you're
Okay,
just kind of unsettled?
pushing that button brought the whole thing back. I had a nightmare last night that I was on Daily Drop-In with you. You were there, and every button I clicked was wrong. Every single one. And I legitimately woke up in like a sweat. You know, you
Yep,
wake up from a dream in like a
yep.
hot sweat, and it was like the worst Daily Drop-In because every button I pushed, it didn't work or something else happened. I woke up in a panic.
Oh my word.
Which
Uh,
is, I don't think that really would matter. I don't think our community would be so upset if every button we pushed like it didn't work. I don't think this show is very stressful, but
that might have been one of many approaches to April Fool's Day today, Ray, where the buttons don't work, or maybe somebody behind the scenes just switched up our titles or our frame around us. If that had been kind of flipped and reversed, and boy, that wouldn't have been very helpful if if sort of recovering from the shock of that nightmare.
yeah, it was the weirdest nightmare of like cameras were you couldn't turn the camera off or
Oh.
on, and I literally I woke up, I was like, that was the worst Daily Drop-In show ever. And I'm like, oh, it was a dream. That makes more sense.
I wonder if any of our viewers or listeners later can recall a time when that kind of a dream popped up, where you're desperately afraid of something going wrong, or recurring dreams like not being in the right place at the right time, or one that keeps popping up for me is showing up at the wrong time for an exam or missing an important appointment. I still have dreams about enrolling for university courses and then being like not being able to show up, and I don't know how that works, but it's not being in the right place at the right time, I guess, is something that keeps coming up for me.
You know what? That stresses me out, Brad. So I understand. That would definitely be something that I would be concerned about. But for all of you here, I just want you to know if Brad and I pressed the wrong button, I hope you still continue to love and stay within the Teach Better community because we just want to make sure we put on a fun morning dialogue for you. But oh my goodness, nightmares about Daily Drop-In. That's a new one for me.
Bree, that's the exact nightmare that I have. Uh, right there, taking
Yeah.
a test for a class you've never attended. So it's like, why haven't I attended it? Why didn't I drop it? I should have dropped it. I got to take the exam. Crazy.
Crazy. We do have articles and good news stories for you and holidays for you. Do you want to get started with our good news story, Brad, or are you in a mood for a holiday?
I would love to start with good news. And Ray, I've got an either or. Good
Ooh.
news question for you, and maybe for anyone who has the opportunity to drop a comment for us. I've got two good news stories. The first good news story is I feel good.
Hmm.
And the second good news story is lip sync for your life. So I need to know if you or our viewers would like to hear the story I feel good or lip sync for your life.
While people are putting a word or description to vote in the comments, I will say, Brad, are you a lip singing like connoisseur? Like, have you done that before? Lip singing? Are you maybe karaoke is a little different than that, but
Yeah, I've done karaoke. What tends to happen for me is I'll get an earworm, a little snippet of a song, and I'll sing it out over and over, and it drives my family nuts. So I'll get the and oh, it's happening again. So I've been, that's where I'm at. Just like it's karaoke, but like 5 seconds at a time, and people don't like that
do you sing in the car ever, Brad?
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one.
you too.
And then feeling good, that's never a bad thing. I would
No,
love, I feel like I could go with either, but I think I agree with Brian in the comments. I think let's go with the good one. And then the lip singing I do want to hear at some point. Maybe we could share that at another time.
sounds good. So this comes from goodnet.org, Ray, and the headline is 10 feel good affirmations for kids.
Ooh.
As educators, we want to make sure that we're speaking positivity out into the world, and especially when we can help children and young people develop an inner soundtrack that speaks goodness out into the world about themselves. Affirmations are key to helping all of us cope with challenging times. And sometimes having that inner soundtrack of a positive affirmation can be soothing. It can interrupt negative thinking. It can interrupt times of overwhelm. And this page that I will share has 10 downloadable inspirational posters in full color, or you can do them in black and white if you wish to color in, including I can make a positive change in the world.
Mm.
When I fail, I tell myself, I just can't do it yet, and I try again.
Mm.
And one of my favorites, I'm growing into a better me every day.
Ooh.
So I can imagine these posters like them are up in hallways or up in classrooms, library spaces, and it could be part of classroom routines. It could also be part of how we as educators model positive self talk for our kids. So if we encounter a setback, then we can turn to one of these posters, we can model the self talk, and then we're demonstrating for kids how they might proceed when tough times come up. So I'll pop that 10 feel good affirmations for kids right in the comments, right?
I love feel good affirmations. If you are listening on Teach Better Talk podcast and are not engaging in our comments, just feel free to reach out anytime if you're looking for resources we talk about on the show. We definitely want to make sure you have access to everything that we possibly can provide you to have a successful opportunity to work with students. Brad, I love the idea of taking these posters and putting them in classrooms or hanging them in the hallway. This would also be a great post if you monitor your social media for your school. Grab a poster and share that graphic out to the community, maybe include it in a newsletter. I think all those little ways to continue to share, it can be so powerful. So wonderful. Great, good news story, Brad.
Thanks.
Some good holidays that we can celebrate today as well, in addition to sharing this incredible resource to our community. We did mention it's April Fool's Day, so those mischief makers that have a chance to trick some unexpected people have the opportunity to yell April Fools this morning. Please do that safely, as we mentioned earlier, but excited to hear about everybody's experience with that. It's also a World Walk to Work Day. Brad, I've never lived in an area where I could walk to work, but have you before?
Yes, I had the opportunity to teach at our neighborhood school, and it's a 5-minute walk. And it was the school that my kids attended in different grades than I was teaching. But yes, I've had the opportunity, and it was really nice.
Yeah, see if you could walk to work today. I
Hmm.
also love, we used to during our plan period, if it was a beautiful day outside, go
Hmm.
walk the track outside the school, to get some exercise with colleagues and catch up a little bit, get some physical interaction or physical like movement. It was really nice. So maybe if you can't walk to work, maybe you could walk at work today. Maybe that would
Right
be an
on.
opportunity. It's also World Sourdough Bread Day. Are you a sourdough bread fan, Brad?
I love to eat it, and some of my colleagues and friends love making it and posting pictures of the beautiful
Mhm.
loaves they created. Have you become part of the sourdough craze that I think has sort of risen up
You
over the
know,
pandemic?
I'm not, but I will tell you, my mother is a wonderful baker of breads. And I definitely know that she could craft up some incredible sourdough bread for sure.
I loaf that, Ray, and I know that your mom is totally upper crust, and so I would be really happy if she shared any of her recipes. I mean, it's the yeast she could do.
Now it feels like a Friday, friends. Now it feels like a Friday. It's also International Day of Fun at Work Day. Who knew that today is so wonderful about work? Thank goodness we all get to go to work today. It is Fossil Fuels Day, and it is also Edit Your Book Day. So for those of you writing a book, today is a day to make sure that those edits are getting done. Very exciting.
Very good.
Yeah, always wonderful. Brad, we have a lot in store for our show today, and I know we're already falling a little behind in our interaction, but let's get into our brainstorm bank so we're able to discuss the topic this week, and then we will also recap the week here with our community. So we'll be right back. Good morning, friends. As many of you know, we have a brainstorm bank that we're able to do every single show where we remind all of you that we are here to support you regardless what you're brainstorming. You definitely do not need to ever brainstorm alone. Brad and I don't promise to have all the answers for you, but we sure would love to brainstorm with you so that you can kind of be headed in the right direction. So if any of you have things that you're currently working through that you want to talk shop about, feel free to put your questions in the comments, and Brad and I will do our best to answer those and discuss them here on the show anytime you need. Brad, we had a theme this week of how language can actually affect the outcomes or the impact that we're able to make. I know that we had a lot of members of our community that shared their thoughts all week long, but specifically for you, what are your thoughts on the use of language?
For me, the reflection on the week, Ray, and sort of shifting into a little bit of what we were chatting about earlier today is the opportunity to leverage language for interaction and mutual growth. It's possible that as maybe English language arts teachers or school leaders, we're thinking about promoting opportunities for kids to interact individually with language and maybe produce some kind of a product. Maybe it's a written product or a report. What I think needs explicit instruction and coaching and ongoing reinforcement is the art of interactive language, the art of communicating with one another in a positive, supportive, gentle way, the art of advocating for one's ideas, but also being open to listen for understanding to the ideas of others, and then maybe to collaborate to write persuasively on findings, even at the risk of error. So that's where I'm at, Ray, is an intentional shift to leveraging language for interaction and for explicit instruction on employing language compassionately, but also passionately.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I think there's so much to learn about the use of language. It's something that I am continuously reflecting on because I know there's so much strategy and research that we can all continue to learn about and how the language and the vocabulary we choose to use in a given situation can affect the outcome. I was happy that we were able to bring this up, bring some awareness to this week, but there's definitely so much to be able to learn in this area that I mean I continually reflect on. I know I can improve in my language use for sure.
There are many educators in all kinds of spaces working to curate, as Che and Pav would say, to curate spaces where language can be leveraged in just that way. We have educators working to bring podcasting opportunities into their classrooms. We've got. I happen to stumble across an incredible high school newspaper, a high school online newspaper, where kids are actually learning to become journalists, and it was quite a professional and quite a polished finished product. So the opportunity for kids to use language to interact with authentic audiences is also really inspiring and really energizing for kids. You think of sort of the old school pen pal projects. We still have classrooms participating in postal mail pen pal projects where they're using written language to interact with those far away. about ePals, but of course, the opportunity to jump on a Zoom or a Google Meet call with anyone at a distance, class to class or class to an expert. It's just incredible the potential that exists to leverage the tools that we have to help kids make sense of their world through language and to communicate what they need from their world with the same thing.
I loved doing podcasting in the classroom with students. I think regardless of the age, there's so much that you can do with students sharing their own voice, having that recording, and then pushing that out into the community. I mean, allowing your students to speak about the things going on in their school and be able to captivate the audience of the community to listen and engage and learn about what's going on in the school. I when I think of language, I think I thought about my own personal language use with others, communicating in leadership roles, but also in teaching practices. I love the connection with podcasting and having, even blogging or anything in between, having others share their voice in different mediums is so interesting to think about.
I think back to a comment that Brian Callahan put in our stream earlier about just the simple change, but the significant change a single word can make. So Brian was reflecting on our interviewing discussion, and he said he prefers the phrase "good ad" rather than "good fit." And so, Che Cheney as well and Pav Wander are constant reflectors on, and they constantly challenge us to be aware of the language we're using and to continue to refine it so it's more inclusive, so that it's more clear, and so that we're working little by little to eliminate bias and discrimination from the language we use, and we're using it in a way that isn't intentionally or may not be intentionally exclusive, but it's worth paying attention to, worth brushing up on, Rae.
I will say, Brad, I think language is interesting for me and where I learn it best when it's modeled. When I'm immersed in a situation where I can learn from a mentor who is speaking and, take mental notes about the way that they, are engaging with the room that they're in, or I feel like there's so many different elements of language in terms of leadership, at least, that I'm most effective in my learning experience when I'm able to watch somebody else model the behavior and model the language. I wonder if we can challenge our community here to, really intentionally consider their language use as they have this week, but even as they move through their day, even through their weekend, thinking about who in their life might be able to enhance their language use and how they can start putting themselves in a room to model that behavior, I think would be really interesting.
Rae, Brian in our comments is wondering if we've heard of giving feed forward rather than feedback. What a great concept. Brian, that's a concept I have absolutely heard about, and I would welcome the opportunity to learn more. So I hope that our viewers and listeners are thinking more about feeding forward rather than feeding back.
It's interesting because I really think it's funny that there's this play on words of forward versus backward, right? And although it is very, very minor, we all know that feedback is a positive, or at least that's how it is in my life. This concept of changing something so there's no issue of somebody ever misconstruing that as a negative is really interesting. I'd love to read that article. Brian is saying that he read an article recently. Brian, if you wouldn't mind sharing that with me, I would love to be a learner in that space. There's so many different words or phrases that I've seen be adapted over time to ensure that there is that positive connotation affiliated with it. Super interesting.
Lori is commenting about how she is a visual learner and she needs to see and hear examples in order to get it or understand what it looks like. And Lori, that reminds me of universal design. Things that are essential for some learners are good for all. I think of our multi-language learners, our learners of English as an additional language, who are navigating, both the learning of the language, but also maybe the learning of the community and the learning of the culture as they do that. And we know there are many students who for whom visual schedules, for example, are essential. But anytime we can scaffold and support the communication with anything that leads to a clearer understanding of what happens next, it's good for everybody.
I totally agree. I think we've talked about it in the show before, Brad, but do you speak other languages outside of English?
I do. I speak French and I speak a little bit of German. I know a few Spanish phrases, but that's it.
Don't you think that learning a language, in and of itself, the vocabulary in English that we're discussing to be more effective with others, but learning any language in an immersive community where you can see examples and see it models and see visual opportunities, that really helps anybody learn more effectively.
100%. And it also circles back to what we were talking about much earlier about using language for connection and relationship building. Learning and engaging with others in different languages is a world changer. It literally opens up paths in our community spaces that others without that language knowledge may not have access to, whether it's media, conversations, print communication, but also the brain growth that's engendered when additional languages are brought in and leveraged, especially when that instruction is with a lot of fun and it promotes a healthy respect for mistakes and setbacks as part of the learning process.
So good. We actually had a number of different educators this week comment on their thoughts of the use of language, one of which was a language teacher in many regards. So, should we get into recapping the week?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, April 1st, and thank you for always jamming with us on that last segment tune. I love, love, love that is a Friday experience that we get to have, Brad, but I really miss it Monday through Thursday that we don't get to hear that little song.
Have you set that song up as your ringtone yet, Ray, or an alarm? Or
No, I have not, and I need to because every single time I hear it, it brings like excitement into my entire body where I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna jam out to this. It really hits a nerve.
it's really cool that it only takes maybe a 10-second clip to do that for you or for anyone. So just reinforcing the power of just the right tune at the right time to improve your mindset.
Oh, Brad, it's so funny you say that. This week, somebody asked me about a boost list, right? A joy list. What are
Oh,
things that bring you happiness? And I always comment to people that you need to list a bunch of things that make you happy, and then put like a time limit in terms of how long does it take when doing that activity to really get that boost of joy. So there was an example I gave earlier this week. I think I shared it on Twitter, but for sure on Instagram, of how you can kind of create your boost list that you can turn to get a little boost as needed. And sometimes it takes 10 minutes during an activity. I made a joke that there's one like a 5-day vacation always gives me a boost, but I should have put that song on my list because that only takes like 7 seconds to get a boost. And having a variety on your boost list that you can turn to lift you up and bring you some joy is a huge blessing.
is coffee part of your boost list?
I think coffee can be a part of my boost list, like
Yeah,
a really great coffee. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
If
Also,
you,
like a 15-minute dog walk is on
oh yeah,
there. I think a variety of lengths is good depending on the day, but it's always good to always have things on your boost list that can be like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, even up to a minute, because that really allows you to incorporate it into any type of day, even those that are very overwhelming.
it's great to have those boosts at the ready, and sometimes they're boosts that are external, whether it's a piece of music or a cup of coffee or a friend. I was thinking about those daily affirmations for kids, and it's important to have those internal boosts too. It's important to practice and have those internal boosts available as part of your own inner soundtrack. And it does take practice because stressful thoughts can be overwhelming and very, very quickly. So I'd encourage everyone to figure out what works for you outside and what works for you inside.
I love it. Please feel free to share what's on your boost list, your
Mhm.
joy list. If you are interested, whether it be now or later on when you're doing this activity, it's always good to keep that list somewhere close by that you can turn to it at a given time and make sure that you continue to add some positive energy into your life. My example I always go to, Brad, is when I did this with somebody who told me that they were going to add zucchini to their joy list. And I was like, really, zucchini? And they're like,
Hmm.
I love eating zucchini. Like, good for you, girl. Add zucchini to your list. Done. Now we know if you're ever in a hard day, run to the grocery store, get some zucchini, cook that up on the stove, and it's going to be a good boost.
I think it's so cool that you took time to affirm that. You wouldn't want to squash that idea.
Terrible, Brad. All right, Monday. Let's do our recap. Oh my gosh, Monday I was live with Dave Schmittou. Dr. Dave Schmittou joined the show Monday morning. What a good conversation we were able to have. Always fun when Dave's able to be
There
live
is.
on Daily Drop In.
Hmm.
On Thursday, I'm sorry, on Tuesday, that's the next day of the week, but it's tricky.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, we had Marie join us, who is an ambassador of the Teach Better community. Always fun to learn alongside her. She does so much to work with students, but she works at a school where students are visually impaired, all of them. And I just find anytime I learn alongside her, there to be so much value. Definitely a lot of discussion in that Tuesday show. Wednesday, we had Lainey Rowell join us, and Lainey was able to join us from the West Coast. So it was bright and early. She had a lot to share with us. And then one of her great friends joined us on Thursday. We had Rochelle Danae Poth joining us on Thursday. And so it was a full week of people from all over our Teach Better community engaging from, all around North America. It was a great conversation.
What's really cool about all of our guests this week is these are folks that are highly connected themselves, but they're also highly approachable and highly personable. They they have each of the guests has a gift. And I think you mentioned Rochelle in your talk with her yesterday. She and all of the guests try to be as available and as present as possible in every interaction, whether it's what they write or how they appear on camera or in a Zoom call with you. What a tremendous opportunity for our listeners and viewers to connect with these people. And as Rochelle said, just start with one connection, a connection that resonates with you, that speaks to your heart or speaks to your needs as a teacher or educator. And these folks, Rae, this is what it's all about, is bringing great people to the spotlight that others can benefit from.
So wonderful. For those of you who missed the show, don't forget you can always catch the audio recording over on Teach Better Talk podcast. You can just subscribe. We appreciate you rating and reviewing that podcast. It really helps boost our listener base. So if you're looking to give us a little bit of a boost, we really appreciate that. You can also catch the live show, obviously every morning live, but saved on YouTube is a very easy place to go to if you ever want to rewatch a different episode. Brad, we have a new theme coming next week with brand new guests. Our theme next week is all about lowering stress to increase our capacity. And so that will be our focus Monday through Friday next week as we continue to celebrate so many things happening in the Teach Better community. Featured speakers that we're announcing for our Teach Better conference. Proposals are open, so you can go share your ideas and submit your session ideas over at teachbetterconference.com. Joshua Stamper put out a new course this week. He did a book study, a free book study on his incredible Aspire to Lead book. So there is a whole lot to celebrate in our community as we get into April.
I love the opportunity to both recap and look forward. And that's a topic, Rae, that is really near and dear to my heart, lowering stress to reduce capacity. And it really is time to continue to have intentional conversations about how we do that for ourselves and for others, because we're worth it. And the kids and the communities that we serve are also worth it too, Rae.
So fun. Next week on Monday, we have, of course, Jeff Gargas joining us back on the show. On Tuesday, we have Lillian Ardell, who she was actually able to join us in the fall. She is a doctorate in language use, which is a wonderful segue from this week and then moving forward, and definitely somebody who continues to manage stress in a number of different ways, including meditation and other yoga practices to get her mind set for the day. We then have Adam Lester joining us on a Wednesday morning. Thursday, we are having a new face to our Teach Better family. Romana will be joining us, which will be a really, really fun introduction for our Teach Better community. And then, Brad, I hope that you're live with me on Friday.
I hope so too. No, I plan to be here, and I plan to reflect on a great week with you, Rae.
Oh, it'll be so great. For everyone here, we hope you have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful April 1st. We know it's April Fool's Day, but we wish you a day full of giggles and great interactions. As a reminder, even though March has come to a close and we are starting a new week, Teach Better proposals are still open for the conference through this month, and then they close at the end of this month. So as you continue forward with April being full of testing season for many educators, or Easter holidays will be coming up this month. We have a few different surprises within our Teach Better community this month. But at the very, very end, don't forget, proposals are closing. So we definitely want you to get your voice shared over at teachbetterconference.com. So if anybody needs any help, we do have a course in our academy to support you through that process if you need it. So, Brad, any final words for our community as we wrap up the show?
Thanks for joining us. Have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful week ahead. Look after yourselves and your loved ones this weekend. Restore, relax, refresh, and then get out there and do amazing things next Monday.
Have a good day, guys.